So with Hell's Paradise Season 2 on the way, we're finally getting one of the most intense parts of the story animated. Season 2 will cover the second half of the Lord Tenzin arc, and then move straight into the entire Horai arc, which is where everything truly explodes. Now, I've already made a full breakdown video explaining the Lord Tenzin arc in detail, so in this video we're picking up right after that, and covering the complete Horai arc from start to finish. And trust me, this arc is massive. It spans 51 chapters, brings together every major faction on the island, and delivers some of the biggest fights, reveals, and emotional moments in the entire series. So, let's begin. The group prepares to infiltrate the ever-shifting fortress of Horai. Mei explains that the island's sea monsters prevent escape, but hidden ships at an underground floodgate follow a safe current home. Gabimaru says that the location of the elixir is in the laboratory, but the Tenzin are constantly renovating the palace, so it's going to be difficult. Mei says that the lab is in Rien's lab. The plan is simple, but dangerous. Split into teams, steal the elixir, and escape by ship. Before leaving, using Tao training taught by Yuzuriha and Gabimaru, the team learns to suppress their presence and counter enemies both mentally and physically. They divide roles. Gabimaru's group searches for the elixir, while another team secures the escape route. Mei reveals she wants to meet Rien and Jofuku one last time to understand why they changed and then leave the island and live a normal life. Gabimaru, after remembering something similar said by her wife, promises to help her. Inside Horai, the immortals prepare as well. Chobei gets into a fight with Ju Fa, who Rien stops and then takes Chobei to his laboratory. On the way, Chobei thinks about how strong he has got, but Rien is on another level, that's why he can't escape yet. He shows a giant Banko Flower. Rien explains ordinary Tao is extracted from humans, but it is not much. A giant Banko Flower processes Tan, but it cannot preserve life energy forever, which is why Rien needs stronger material. Someone like Chobei. Chobei wonders what they'll do with so much Tao. Later, Rien studies Chobei while cutting his body parts. Then the infiltration begins. The elixir team lands on the palace, then a flashback occurs. Gabimaru says they'll attack tonight, as Mei says Tenzin Tower is the weakest at this time. Then Fuchi explains how they'll infiltrate Horai. He explains that inside, each Tenzin has their own sanctums, which are Renten's sanctum, which is Rien's lab. Others reside in other sanctums, which are made for 5 training methods: Bochujutsu, Taisoku, Doin, Shuitsen, and Shuten. Gabimaru then explains that his group will use Tao to see things and move forward. Back to the present, Sagiri senses that overwhelming Tao in the palace is because of captured humans. Then the group presses forward. They eliminate guards while having their Tao suppressed and reach the lab, where they expect the elixir. At first, Gabimaru senses no one. Then suddenly he notices Tao in the middle, and they're confronted by Rien, who already knew they were coming because Chobei warned the Tenzin, as he can sense his brother's Tao. Realizing they're the group who killed Mudan, Rien says they'll capture them to use their Tao. Back to the present, Ran's water-aligned Tao gives him a natural advantage over Gabimaru's fire. He explains that the immortals are close to completing the elixir of life and have begun the rite of just consumption, sacrificing humans to produce more time. Elsewhere, the escape team is intercepted by Tao Fa, Ju Fa, and Zhu Jin, forcing battles across the fortress. Gabimaru says it's over. Now it's time for Plan 2, which is to give their all to fight the Tenzin. Rien calmly observes, confident the invaders will fall, though he remains cautious about Gabimaru's potential. Gabimaru orders Sagiri and Mei to search for the elixir, while he and Yuzuriha stall Rien. Mei reveals they're no longer in Rien's temple. Rien reshaped the palace itself, easily manipulating inorganic Tao. He traps Mei with spikes and fights Gabimaru, whose attacks fail because Ran's Tao armor has no gaps. Even Yuzuriha's Tao-infused kunai is deflected. Gabimaru studies Ran's Tao and rushes and punches him far away, and he starts to bleed. A flashback reveals that he used a 3-step method: absorb an opponent's energy, circulate it safely, then reverse it back. By syncing his breathing with Ran's Tao, he briefly gains the upper hand. Ran admits he's really talented, but Gabimaru says it's the product of far too many sacrifices, so for him to label it as talent makes it look like he's not taking things seriously. Meanwhile, Sagiri frees Mei and continues toward the elixir, while Gabimaru blocks Rien from stopping them. Since Gabimaru is redirecting his own Tao, Rien suppresses his Tao, creating an opening for Yuzuriha to slice him apart, but he transforms into his four-armed Kishikai form. Elsewhere, Rien reviews the battlefield. Chobei's report places Zhu Jin against Shion and Nurugai, while Gantetsu and Fuchi face Tao Fa and Ju Fa. He presents the completed elixir to Jofuku. Meanwhile, Shugen, enraged by the deaths of Tenza and Genji, commands monsters with that whistle from the doshi to carry his group to Horai. Back in battle, Kishikai Ran overwhelms Gabimaru and Yuzuriha. Yuzuriha tries to retreat with him, but Kishikai Ran easily catches up and attacks. Gabimaru tries to defend, but Ran slashes him severely. Yuzuriha thought he's dead, but he gets up again with one of his eyes being dark. A flashback reveals Mei explaining if both Flower Tao and Human Tao get balanced, then the subject gets the same body as Tenzin. Gabimaru had taken a flower stinger from Mudan to partially undergo arborification, like Chobei, risking becoming plant-like to gain Tenzin-level power. He thinks Chobei pulled it off because he had something to lose, just like him. After being crushed, he sacrifices himself further, revives with vine-like markings, and keeps fighting despite the spreading transformation. Meanwhile, Sagiri and Mei reach the lab. Yuzuriha says Gabimaru is not normal. He tossed away his humanity for someone that might not even exist. Gabimaru says just sticking to logic won't cut it sometimes. You have to rely on raw feeling. Together, Gabimaru and Yuzuriha prepare to fight Ran. Gabimaru uses Ninpole Burning Bridge, but Ran dodges. Gabimaru attacks again while Yuzuriha holds him off, but Ran slashes him. Gabimaru uses the opportunity to use Ninpole Ascetic Blaze and burns him. As Ran was about to attack again, Yuzuriha saves him. Ran says no matter how much they try, nothing will change. Gabimaru smiles, saying ninjutsu will kill Ran. Then both Gabimaru and Yuzuriha attack him with several combinations of attacks. Gabimaru explains that just like humans, strong bursts of light stimulate the brain into producing dopamine, sending the victim to a temporary trance state, which corrupts his sense of timing. They stall Ran by exhausting his Tao, and a flashback reveals Kishikai form uses too much Tao, and once the transformation ends, then their Tao is over. When his Kishikai collapses, the duo presses, but Yuzuriha stops as she starts to bleed from her injury. Gabimaru notices Ran tries to recover by cycling yin and yang. He asks Yuzuriha to strike, but she's too weak to attack, and tosses her knife saying she doesn't want to die, and catches the knife saying she'll strike as she doesn't want to let him live. Yuzuriha, despite a fatal wound, presses on. With Gabimaru launching her past Ran's defenses, she destroys the Tao in his Tanden using earth-infused power, finally killing Ran. Afterward, the arborification threatens Gabimaru, but he insists he must live to see his wife again, and runs to rejoin Sagiri and Mei. Yuzuriha stays behind, saying she'll catch up to him later, as she needs to heal. Gabimaru thanks Yuzuriha for saving him before leaving, and runs. Yuzuriha then removes the mucus sealing her wound. Reflecting on her lonely life and remembering her sister Saya and Senta, she accepts death and collapses smiling. Gabimaru pushes forward, but the vines rapidly spread through his body. Remembering Yuzuriha's warning that regeneration accelerates arborification, and thinking of his wife, he finally collapses unconscious, his fate uncertain. Inside the Bochujutsu Sanctum, Gantetsu, Fuchi, and Toma confront Ju Fa, Tao Fa, and Chobei. Seeing his brother, Chobei invites Toma to join him in immortality. After a heartfelt reunion, the brothers immediately attack the Tensen beside them, sending both immortals tumbling. Chobei thanks Gantetsu and Fuchi for protecting Toma, and assigns them Tao Fa, while he and Toma face Ju Fa. The brothers rematch Ju Fa, overwhelming him with coordinated strikes. Realizing they're far stronger than before, especially Toma, Ju Fa abandons restraint and fights seriously. Meanwhile, Gantetsu and Fuchi battle Tao Fa. She easily dominates with Tao-based attacks, mocking Gantetsu for lacking Tao awareness, but she finds Fuchi cute and asks him if he's interested in Bochujutsu with her. Fuchi rejects it, saying he has only interest in her organs. Gantetsu says she's his ideal girl. She grows muscles and starts fighting them both and overwhelming them. Fuchi explains how her Tao-based attacks are invincible to them, but Gantetsu tells him to shut up and says he never wants to hear about it again, while also saying that it has begun to be fun and launches several slashes which she easily dodges. Gantetsu says she's also having fun, but she says not all, revealing the grim truth. After 1,000 years of harvesting humans and training for immortality, perfection still eludes the Tensen, and the endless cycle has driven them toward madness, and knocks them both out. Fuchi still stands up and becomes fascinated by Tao's scientific potential, while Gantetsu, seeking pure combat, begins sensing attacks instinctively. Both of them charge again, and this time Gantetsu lands an attack. Earlier, Shion had explained that Tao requires abandoning reliance on sight. Back in present, Gantetsu attacks and gets smashed back, then Fuchi comes to attack, but she dodges all his moves but also get pushed back. Then Tao Fa lands a reckless attack that makes Fuchi bleed. A flashback reveals Fuchi saying before being executioners, they're humans, and being on this island having spent such a short time has made them close to each other, and he hopes that all of them return safely. Then Tao Fa begins to launch a massive attack. Just then, Gantetsu remembers Shion's words, and in a reckless breakthrough, Gantetsu gouges out his own eye to fully trust sensation, allowing him to perceive Tao directly and helps Fuchi dodge Tao Fa's attacks, then goes to fight her hot-blooded. Then a flashback occurs, where a young Gantetsu asks his master why he's strong, to which Jian replies that Gantetsu's trying to be greedy. He wants more power, speed, basically everything. When you're young, that's alright, but as you grow, you've got to leave something behind. At first, Gantetsu didn't understood anything, but now he does. The more you gain, the harder it gets to take a good look at yourself. Back to present, he's dodging Tao Fa's attacks effectively and also slashes her and rips her apart in pieces. Even so, his attacks can't stop Tao Fa's regeneration due to incompatible attributes. Fuchi intervenes, using his metal Tao to suppress her regeneration while holding her in place. Trusting instinct and his master's teachings about letting go of strength, Gantetsu lands a precise Tao-infused strike that destroys her tanden, without harming Fuchi, defeating her. Elsewhere, Chobei considers transforming to defeat Ju Fa, but Toma insists they win together. Suddenly, Tao Fa emerges in the shape of a tree and starts to merge with Ju Fa. Ju Fa reveals his deep bond with Tao Fa. Born as two halves of one being, he devoted himself to protecting her. With Rien, they were like a family, but whenever someone got hurt, no one would flinch because they knew that they will grow back. But even so, he hated Tao Fa getting hurt. Mei said it's because he has someone to care about. Later, Rien started to experiment with Doshi, to make them beings like themselves, and once they get control over their Tao, they should replenish themselves, while also explaining their methods, which included Bochu Jutsu for Ju Fa and Tao Fa. Years later, Mei disappeared from the palace. Their training grew more brutal. With centuries passed, the animals in the continent died. The village fell to ruins. One day, during their meeting, they discuss about bringing in humans to perfect their elixir. If they don't, all their training will mean nothing. Ju Fa feels frustrated hearing this, as he and Tao Fa both had to struggle so much because of this. But even though, all of them keep smiling, making Ju Fa wonder if they all have gone mad. Later, Tao Fa sees Ju Fa sending a boat filled with remains of humans as a bait to bring them over. Ju Fa asks if she's really okay with this. Tao Fa creepily replies yes. Ju Fa watched Tao Fa abandon her compassion and embrace exploiting humans, convincing himself that it's the world that had gone mad, not them. Back to present, both Ju Fa and Tao Fa have fused with each other into a single Kishikai entity driven by twisted love. The monstrous fusion declares humans livestock and unleashes devastating power, shattering the palace roof and floating above the battlefield. The group reels from the creature's overwhelming presence. During the chaos, spores infect Gantetsu, forcing Fuchi to remove the barb and urge retreat, but Chobei refuses to stall. Transforming, he uses vine-like abilities to latch onto the fused Tensen and strike its tanden, exploiting elemental advantage. The creature retaliates violently, impaling and blasting him away. Realizing brute force won't work, Fuchi insists they cooperate. Despite rivalry, Chobei, Toma, Gantetsu, and Fuchi unite. Chobei shields the group from incoming attacks and studies the elemental cycle, believing his hidden technique is their best chance. As Ju Fa extends a killing vine towards him, Toma slices it apart, signaling the team's coordinated counteroffensive has begun. The battle against the fused Kishikai form of Ju Fa and Tao Fa intensifies as Chobei, Toma, Gantetsu, and Fuchi coordinate their assault. Chobei strengthens Fuchi's metal Tao and launches him forward, allowing a precise strike on Tao Fa's tanden. Gantetsu tries to follow up but slips into a pool as the fused monster rises again. Recognizing they must destroy both tandens simultaneously, Chobei splits the team. He and Gantetsu target Ju Fa, while Toma and Fuchi handle Tao Fa. He also pushes Toma to think for himself rather than rely on him. The group presses forward while fending off relentless vine attacks. Gantetsu dives in despite nearing his limits. Toma protects Fuchi from spores, reminding him his Tao is essential. Seeing everyone exhausted, Gantetsu seizes the moment. He ambushes from below and cleaves the monster in half, creating an opening. The team strikes from both sides before the two immortals can reunite, successfully destroying both tendons. As Tao Fa weakens, Fuchi restrains her during her final moments. Ju Fa attempts to keep fighting, but Chobei uses stored water Tao to corrode his regeneration. Gantetsu delivers the finishing blow. In death, the two immortals appear as children and reunite peacefully, finally free of centuries of suffering. Elsewhere, Sagiri and Mei encounter Ju Fa, guardian of the ritual circle. He explains that he anticipated both of them with the help of Talisman. He can use it to see current status of everyone. Sagiri then tries to draw her blade, but Ju Fa overwhelms her with Tao pressure, threatening to kill her if she resorts to violence. Sagiri then puts her blade down and apologizes, saying she's not here to fight, and offers a deal that humans will never return this island again and they'll never bother them too. But he says it would still be pointless if she returns to the mainland. Then the room turns pitch black, which is an illusion created by Tao, and then he reveals the floodgate where Doshi prepares to leave from the ships to extract Tan out of every human. Rien plans to release paradise butterflies across the mainland, turning humanity into flowers that merge into a divine being called Banko to produce perfected Tan. The Tensen no longer value human life. Humans are simply ideal Tao sources because their emotional contradictions like love, hate, life, and death embody Tao itself. The Tensen know nothing of love or death. The elixir is almost completed, and negotiations at this point is impossible. Ju Fa also reveals that Shion is nearing defeat, prompting a shift to his battle with Zhu Jin. Shion, exhausted, has already cut the immortal 1,000 times to slow regeneration. Though blind, he tracks Tao perfectly and slashes all the clones thrown at him. He nearly destroys Zhu Jin's tendon with a thrown blade. Zhu Jin retaliates by forming Tao bodies and crushing him, but Shion slices free, driven by grief for those lost. He refuses to mourn Tenza until the Tensen are eradicated. All of this scares Zhu Jin. Desperate, Zhu Jin retreats into water and restores power by balancing yin and yang like Ju Fa, then partially transforms into a Kishikai form. Now faster and stronger, Zhu Jin claims he has adapted to Shion's tricks. Despite exhaustion, Shion and Nurugai struggle to survive against a newly empowered foe, with the battle reaching a critical turning point. Shion's past is revealed, where he explains that he got these scars from his mother, even though he was blind by birth. He gave him these scars for a roadside show. From a young age, he perceived the world through Tao. Later, he got welcomed to Todoza, and through there, he ended up at Yamada School, where everyone was surprised to see such a talent. His mother, however, made up a fake story that he's the son of a renowned swordsman, and he was very young in his first battle where he got his scars. Tenza, however, always defended him, saying past doesn't matter, present does. Tenza always acknowledged Shion's sword skills and wished to become like him. Back to present, Shion gives his all to fight against Zhu Jin. Zhu Jin says she has the upper hand, but Shion explains what she's using is the last remains of her Tao. Moments later, she'll be left with nothing. He orders Nurugai to stay back while he deals with this. Zhu Jin tries to attack, but Shion cuts her quickly and impales her in her tendon. A flashback reveals Yuzuriha explaining why cut Tenzen 1,000 when you land one good strike in the critical area. Back to present, Zhu Jin lies on the floor while Shion stabs her again in her tendon and holds it until she dies, while she sprouts vines and tries to impale him, to which he says he will not move until Zhu Jin is dead. It's a test of endurance. Nurugai shouts to stop this, but Shion orders him to run away, explaining he made the right choice leaving Tenza there to survive. But why did he make the right choice? His eyes can't shed tears for him, so this is the least he can do for him. Shion again shouts to Nurugai to run away. Nurugai runs with tears in her eyes and fell. Then she thinks how she's lost everyone and she's the only survivor. He then wonders why does he should die here until he explains that he is going nowhere. Then she hallucinates Tenza, who gives her sword in her hands and says there's only one thing to do. Nurugai picks the sword and rushes back to Shion. He finds Shion completely wrapped with the vines.
He has no idea how much time has passed. Then suddenly, Nurugai steps in and starts ripping out the vines. She then hugs him, saying she's trying to restore his Tao. Shion criticizes her, saying a young girl shouldn't hug anyone so casually. Shion then explains that Zhu Jin is not dead, but it'll take a whole day for her to recover. They should deliver the final blow. Nurugai refuses, saying vines will attack him again and they should leave that thing at bay and reunite with others. Shion says Tenza's sacrifice would be meaningless, to which Nurugai explains that when they ran away from that place, she saw Tenza smile in his last moment. His smile was sad but kinda cool. Tenza didn't regret it a thing. She says she wants to leave this place and live. Shion agrees and thanks Nurugai for saving him and says he should call Sensei to her for opening his eyes. Back to Sagiri, Mei, and Guifa, some bottles blast indicating all the Tensen have been defeated. He then leaves to report this to Rien, saying he has no intention of revenge. Their death too is a part of their training. The Tensen are not bound to bonds or emotions. He asks Mei why did she come back after so long, to which she replies that she finally understood life, while remembering Hoko. Guifa says he envies her, then suddenly they feel a rumbling, which is Shugen entering the palace while demolishing the walls. After fitting Gantetsu with an eye patch, Fuchi, Toma, and Chobei regroup. Chobei refocuses them on Rien's true plan: convert all humans in Japan to Tan and synchronize them with Banko. He also reveals he endured Bochu Jutsu experiments by the Tensen. Before alliances are settled, violent tremors shake the palace. Elsewhere, Nurugai supports injured Shion, who promises to protect her and wander the country together if they survive. Their moment ends when masked Iwa Shinobi attack under orders from Shugen to eliminate convicts and any Asaemon aiding them. Nearby, an unconscious Gabimaru awakens and instantly defeats surrounding attackers, recognizing the presence of his successor. Earlier, he told Sagiri that Gabimaru the Hollow is not a person, but a title passed down by Iwagakure's strongest shinobi, an identity that never dies, only changes hosts. Rumors, even recalled by Yuzuriha and Senta, describe the name itself as an immortal symbol of terror. Gabimaru's brutal upbringing is revealed. The clan head, Iwagakure, adopted Gabimaru when he was an infant after his parents were killed. Within the presence of the Gabimaru of that time, Gabimaru was chosen as one of the subjects to get the successor of next Gabimaru. Right when he was a kid, Gabimaru's physical prowess was way ahead than anyone else. Once a boy threw a rock at Gabimaru, making him bleed. Later, that boy was killed in the most brutal way possible. People continuously got killed who came in his way, making him separate from almost everybody else. But there was one girl who admired him a lot. Later, Iwagakure put Gabimaru against the Gabimaru of that time, saying if he kills him, he'll be the next Gabimaru. And he does so in the most gore way you can imagine. In the present, Shugen commands the shinobi to execute all life forms except surviving Yamada Asaemon. Meanwhile, one masked ninja, secretly obsessed with Gabimaru, reveals her true aim: kill everyone else but bring him back. Flashbacks show she eliminated his rivals from the shadows and confessed her twisted devotion, willing to either kill or die for him. At the floodgates, Rien learns that the Tensen have fallen and the ritual failed. He deploys the Doshi army, declaring this war meaningless and lost. Everything will eventually reset. Every group gets attacked simultaneously, but everyone managed their way through. Gantetsu, Fuchi, Chobei, and Toma retreat. Gantetsu says war goes way beyond strength. Living or dying is up to luck. It's hell. Only those survive who run from it. Elsewhere, Shugen slaughters waves of enemies in vengeance, calling the conflict an execution, not a war. At the floodgates, Gabimaru's stalker ambushes Rien's forces, incinerating Doshi with ninjutsu and ordering the ships burned, waiting for Gabimaru himself. Inside Renten Temple, Sagiri and Mei battle Doshi and Iwa Ninja. Sagiri realizes each faction obeys separate orders and exploits this divide. Suddenly, someone takes down the Doshi from behind and Yuzuriha suddenly returns alive, revealing the battlefield is closing in around them. Sagiri rushes towards her and hugs. They plan to confront Rien and get the elixir of life, but are interrupted by Isuzu, who condemns Sagiri for siding with Yuzuriha, saying she's charged with murder and theft. She declares all convicts and allies enemies of the Yamada. Meanwhile, Shion and Nurugai encounters Kiyomaru, Toma and Chobei encounter Jika, and Gantetsu and Fuchi encounter Shugen. Furious that Fuchi has untied his criminal partner, Shugen demands justification, while ignoring Gantetsu, who he thinks is not anyone like he's come across. Fuchi explains survival forced cooperation. Shugen says he's here now, he can kill Gantetsu and join him, saying he admires him a lot and loved every time they spent together. But Fuchi explains that he's learned the value of life after loss. Refusing to execute Gantetsu, Shugen's devastated hearing this. Gantetsu intervenes, saying he's no match for someone who's forged in true battle, and insults him saying a kiddo in black. Shugen attacks. Gantetsu easily counters, and for a split second it looked like he became someone else. Gantetsu attacks again. Shugen blocks and starts telling about Genji. Gantetsu gets annoyed. Shugen explains one day Genji came up to him to learn how to write. It took him an entire year to do so, and then he draws strength from the same memories and overpowers Gantetsu, who's shocked how can he transform.
Shugen says all of fallen Yamada, especially Genji, will cut him down. He overwhelms Gantetsu using their signature techniques, disarms him, and prepares to execute him. But Fuchi intervenes, blocking the killing blow. He declares that criminal does not equal evil, and he refuses to let anyone else die, even if it means defying the law. A flashback hits, where Shugen meets Fuchi where he's dissecting a female corpse from the execution grounds, saying anatomical research is part of medical science and pharmacology. Shugen jokingly asks if he'll give him medicine if he helps him with this. Back to present, Shugen slashes Fuchi. Elsewhere, Isuzu defends Shugen's ideology to Sagiri. He preserves order by punishing all crime equally, regardless of circumstance. Around the battlefield, Chobei and Toma surrender. Shion lowers his blade, and two transformed shinobi confront Gabimaru while disguised as the Iwagakure chief and his wife. Gantetsu is enraged that Shugen would go so far for order, but Shugen insists such resolve is justice. Meanwhile, at the floodgates, Rien manipulates Shija's fire ninjutsu, turning it against nearby shinobi and wiping many out instantly. Shija counters with strategy rather than strength, realizing Rien's regeneration and sorcery still operate through a conscious will. She orders Dying Ninja to burn the ships, forcing Rien to divert Tao to perfect them, revealing the vessels as the Immortal's emotional weak point. Exploiting that distraction, she identifies this attachment as love, framing it as both power and vulnerability. Amid the chaos, she steals the elixir of life from Rien and has a subordinate smuggle it outside while launching Pyro Bridge to stall pursuit. Rien destroys a decoy carrier only to realize the real elixir has escaped. Knowing brute force won't win, Shija relies on deception and psychological warfare, because in war, cunning prevails over strength. Outside, the elixir is secured and a conch signal alerts Isuzu that the mission is complete. Back at the temple, Sagiri protects the weakened Yuzuriha from Isuzu, who refuses to leave any criminals alive, even after the elixir is secured. A short flashback shows that even though Isuzu never bonded deeply with everyone in the Yamada clan, she felt close to Sagiri because they were both women in the clan. So seeing Sagiri working with an enemy on the island makes Isuzu furious. Meanwhile, Gabimaru watches the shinobi Kinkakubo and Ginkakubo use transformation jutsu to look like the chief of Iwagakure and his wife. They claim Gabimaru has been erased from the village for leaving. They even say his wife is only an illusion meant to control him. Gabimaru doesn't believe them, assuming it's just psychological warfare. They confirm that the next Gabimaru is actually Shija and report that some comrades died on the way to the island. They still see him as the true Gabimaru and reveal the clan has obtained the elixir of life. Kinkakubo then asks Gabimaru to kill him so the chief will lift the execution order. Gabimaru refuses. The ninja warn him that even if he escapes, his wife doesn't exist. He rejects this again and says he'll believe only what he sees. Since they can't persuade him, they're happy to prepare to fight, honored to battle someone they admire. Even high-ranking ninja volunteered just for this chance. When they attack, Gabimaru easily defeats them using sharp awareness and skill. He declares that numbers and mind games won't stop him. He says he'll destroy anyone who blocks his escape, even Lord Tenzin or entire clans, because nothing will stand in his way. Gabimaru quickly defeats the overconfident genin. Each ninja introduces themselves, but he kills them while calmly explaining their mistakes, teaching them even in their final moments. He finishes the fight with a powerful kick that cracks the ground. Activating his Tao, he senses the palace and nearby battles. He detects Shija at the floodgates, confirms Sagiri is safe, but is shocked that Fuchi has fallen. Staying focused, he heads to Renton Temple to regroup with Sagiri, steal the elixir of life, and escape. Meanwhile, Zhu Jin reawakens, leaves Taisuk Temple, and travels underground to fuse with divine beast Banko, ignoring Rien's warnings. The fuse being erupts from the palace, drawing everyone's attention. At the same time, Chobei reveals he let himself and Toma get captured on purpose, believing it's smarter to wait than fight while outnumbered. Suddenly, his arm starts hurting and flowers begin to grow uncontrollably from his body. As Jika questions him, a captured doshi transforms back into a human, confused about where he is and what happened to his allies. Elsewhere, Gabimaru also starts sprouting flowers from his flower Tao. Seeing a massive flower monster, he suspects it's the cause. At the floodgates, Rien senses that Zhu Jin has fused with divine beast Banko. The fused being spreads roots that seek strong Tao sources, turning people into trees. At Renton Temple, Sagiri notices Mei reacting, while Isuzu sees horrifying human flower trees across Horai. Meanwhile, Shugen finds only flowers where Gantetsu and Fuchi once were. Rien recalls telling Ron that controlling Banko was impossible. Now they have to wait again for a century. Then Ron asks, why would Rien go this far? Shugen studies the flowers covering the ground and realizes they've swallowed both Fuchi and Gantetsusai. Unsure what caused it, he's approached by Iwagakure Shinobi who report that Shija fought Rien, buying time before the Tensen prepare to leave. After taking the elixir of life, Shugen orders the bodies to be uncovered and heads for the floodgates. After he leaves, a shinobi reveals they're actually Shija in disguise, having swapped places to survive. To be certain no one lives, she throws kunai into the flower bed. Seeing the devastation and the monstrous divine beast Banko, she laughs, convinced ordinary humans can compete, and eagerly prepares to face Gabimaru. Meanwhile, Fuchi awakens, badly injured but alive. Realizing Shugen could have killed him but didn't, he chooses to treat himself first but realizes there's not much time left for Gantetsu. As he works, he hallucinates a version of himself urging him to accept reality, an era where loyalty and sacrifice rule, and where the Yamada clan risks disgrace if he defies expectations. Torn between duty and compassion, Fuchi struggles, but ultimately chooses to save Gantetsusai. When Gantetsusai wakes, he realizes Fuchi gave everything to heal him. Unable to respond, Fuchi is simply happy to hear his name spoken with respect. In his final thoughts, he warns that the survivor's will is unstoppable and calls the island a living paradox, then peacefully accepts his fate, wishing for everyone's dreams to come true. Minutes earlier, Guifa enters Pemain Temple Annex to guard the basin on orders from Rien, quietly wondering if this was the plan all along. In the present, Shugen is warned not to touch the giant monsters or he'll be turned into flowers. Ignoring the risk, he destroys one using Sense's fighting style, grieving his loss, then rushes into the main temple while the distracted divine beast Banko spreads vines. Elsewhere, Sagiri, Yuzuriha, and Isuzu fight monsters as Mei begins blooming from disrupted Tao. Yuzuriha spots Zhu Jin blocking the floodgates, leaving them trapped again. Tensions rise when Gantetsusai arrives carrying Fuchi's body. They bury him, but arguments erupt over cooperation. Overwhelmed by guilt and duty, Isuzu prepares to commit seppuku. Then Jika arrives with Toma, Chobei, Kiyomaru, Shion, and Nurugai. He stops her, warns of the consequences, and reveals a plan to defeat Zhu Jin and possibly free the criminals, but it requires help from Gabimaru. Chobei, suffering from Zhu Jin's influence, explains that the divine beast Banko has spread across the palace. According to Mei, flower fragments in the air are ton particles that cause arborification if inhaled. If the Banko isn't destroyed by morning, everyone's Tao will be disrupted and they'll turn into flowers. To stop it, they must destroy its tanden. Chobei senses 5 tandens, each tied to one of the 5 elements scattered across Horai. Gantetsusai believes they'll need to destroy all of them at once. Shion worries they're too injured to fight, but the group easily handles incoming monsters. After Sagiri and Nurugai stress the need for strong Tao, Jika says they need Gabimaru. Gabimaru suddenly arrives, burning the monsters, but collapses from the Banko's effects after reuniting with everyone. Still, he's relieved Sagiri is safe since he needs her help to earn his pardon. Though exhausted, Chobei says they must keep fighting. Recognizing Gabimaru also has something precious to protect, he's satisfied with his resolve. Isuzu refuses to work with criminals and goes to find Shugen. As Jika prepares to explain the plan, Iwagakure shinobi quietly follow a core rule: strike without presence. Acting natural, they suddenly throw kunai at everyone. Just before the ambush, Shion explains that each tanden can only be destroyed by someone with the matching Tao attribute, and Tao restoration can boost attack power. Mei identifies the group's affinities. Jika uses Earth Tao, Kiyomaru metal, and Isuzu water. Meanwhile, Yuzuriha questions Sagiri about Jika's reliability, since rumors say he sold his sword, carries a cheap bamboo takemitsu, drinks heavily, and skips assignments. Still, his blade cuts like steel. Shion once explained that Jika can perceive deeper truths and manipulate momentum by striking precise points, something beyond normal Tao perception. As the group is distracted, hidden shinobi suddenly throw kunai at Gabimaru. Jika instantly notices and casually reflects the attack back, defeating them. Everyone is stunned. Nurugai is confused, believing the shinobi were allies, but Jiko reveals he suspected their betrayal. They were always trying to eliminate Gabimaru. He admits he wasn't sure whose side to choose, but decided to support Gabimaru, thinking they're similar, though Gabimaru disagrees. After collecting the shinobi's gear, the group regroups. Sagiri worries that even if they survive, they may still be forced to kill each other later. Gabimaru insists things are different now. Everyone has changed. Yuzuriha agrees that his strange logic is often right. They form new pairings. Sagiri teams up with Gabimaru so her wood Tao can support his fire, Yuzuriha stays with Mei to locate the tanden, and Gantetsusai joins Jika to strengthen his earth Tao. Everyone prepared and paired up, the group sets out to destroy the tandens. Lost in memory, Zhu Jin remembers Rien explaining the right of just consumption and laughs at the crude drawings. Ju Fa scolds them, insisting it is for Tao Fa's sake, though Zhu Jin finds the constant protection irritating despite knowing they all care deeply for each other. Determined not to fail again, Zhu Jin sees glowing white orbs and believes gathering them will complete the ritual. In reality, the fused divine beast Banko wildly absorbs every kind of Tao nearby. Reaching Shuitsu Temple, Kiyomaru and Isuzu defeat the guarding creatures. Isuzu grows exhausted and finally understands why they needed help from criminals. While fighting insects, Kiyomaru urges her to trust Shugen, reminding her he always believed in them, treated every student equally, defended her, and helped her become a teacher. Grateful, Isuzu renews her loyalty, recalling how everyone used to make fun of her saying that she looks like a gorilla, but once Shugen praised the beauty of her skin. Cutting through overgrowth, they force open the temple doors and charge inside, ready to confront Zhu Jin's final tanden and end the spreading arborification. After reaching the earth tanden of the divine beast Banko, Shion tells Nurugai to stay back while he fights approaching monsters, but he's already near his limit. A conch horn from Yuzuriha signals that everyone has reached their targets and can begin attacking. The tanden is too high for Shion's sword, so he strengthens Nurugai's blade with Tao and throws it, but it barely scratches the core. Elsewhere, Zhu Jin senses strange damage but can't understand what's happening, unknowingly directing monsters towards them. Shion orders Nurugai to stay behind him, but she remembers how he always fought alone, and even abandoned his Yamada Asayemon status to protect her, refusing to accept the execution of an innocent person. Realizing he truly meant it, she decides to fight beside him. Though her clan rejected what couldn't be seen, memories of Tenza awaken her Tao perception. She enters a higher awareness, defeats several monsters, and asks Shion to be her partner, not her guardian. Proud but exhausted, he agrees and lets her lead. Frustrated by unseen attacks, Zhu Jin reacts violently, causing the Earth Tanden to sprout multiple bodies of Mudan, shocking both fighters. At the Wood Tanden, Chobei and Toma face multiple clones of Tao Fa emerging from the core. They realize each Tanden is likely producing clones tied to its matching Tensen. As they prepare to fight, the brothers debate their next move: escape with the survivors or follow Jika's secret plan to eliminate Shugen so a false report can be given to the Shogun, claiming everyone died. Jika hopes to rise in power and leave this brutal world behind for one of comfort, even suggesting bandits could eliminate survivors like Shion and Sagiri if necessary. As the clones partially transform into their Kishikai forms, Chobei prepares to fight, but feels his Tao deteriorating from the divine beast Banko's influence. He also senses Toma weakening from Tao particles in the air. Realizing they can't defeat the army and destroy the Tanden in time, Chobei makes a decision. Though he once planned to share the elixir with his brother, he now entrusts everything to him alone. Charging forward, Chobei unleashes explosive vines from his body, destroying everything around him. Elsewhere, Gabimaru and Sagiri are confronted by Shija, who has already wiped out the Guifa clones.
Earlier, when Gabimaru and Sagiri confronted the Guifa clones, Shija suddenly appeared and swiftly destroyed them. Clearly thrilled to reunite with Gabimaru, Shija listens as he cautiously speaks with her, knowing how unpredictable she is. But when the conch sounds, Sagiri warns they're running out of time. They must gain Shija's cooperation or treat her as an enemy. Gabimaru admits he can't fight Shija in his weakened state, so Sagiri tries to perform Tao restoration. Shija, insulted and calling Sagiri a wench, moves to strike, but instantly stops when Gabimaru orders her to wait. Instead, he asks for her help, saying he needs her strength. Inside Shija's conflicted mind, loyalty to the chief clashes with her devotion to Gabimaru. She happily agrees to help, but only to revive what she sees as his true self, the legendary Gabimaru the Hollow. As Shija charges forward, Gabimaru tells Sagiri to handle the regenerated clones while he faces Shija himself. Shija opens the fight by using Ninpo Hair Forged, launching Hair Kunai at Gabimaru. As he dodges, she follows with Ninpo Flash Hand to push him back, leading to intense close-quarters combat filled with precise techniques. Their first clash ends with both using Ninpo Fire Monk, creating a massive explosion. Realizing Shija knows more ninjutsu, Gabimaru decides taijutsu is his best option, but Shija literally voices his thoughts, revealing she understands his movements from long observation. Gabimaru counters that Tao lets him read her too. He deliberately takes a blow to launch himself toward the tanden of the divine beast Banko, but only destroys the statue beneath it. Shija quickly realizes he's been protecting Sagiri the entire time. Seeing his weakened Tao and gentler resolve, she's heartbroken that he now protects others instead of killing without hesitation. Furious as Sagiri is helping him with Tao restoration, Shija rushes to attack.
Gabimaru tells Sagiri to run, but she refuses, declaring she won't be insulted anymore and prepares to face Shija alone. Knowing Shija isn't immortal, Sagiri uses Tao sensing to predict her attack, but she's still overwhelmed and slammed to the ground. Sagiri pulls out a special powder bag she grabbed earlier, forcing Shija to retreat briefly and question why she supports Gabimaru despite her duty. Sagiri explains she once lived by strict rules, but the changing era has taught her to empathize, not only with Gabimaru, but even with the Tensen and the Shinobi of Iwagakure. Unmoved, Shija uses Ninpo knotted locks, sending her hair through the ground to bind Sagiri. She forces her to inhale nerve powder, a brutal training toxin that overloads the senses with unbearable pain, something Iwagakure shinobi endure for days to become numb to suffering. Preparing another drug that stimulates pleasure, she explains their philosophy. Shinobi are stripped of sensation until only death feels real. Fear and despair before death become their only true emotions. Gabimaru awakened that feeling in her, an awareness of mortality. To Shija, that fleeting moment before death is life's purest truth. With his body breaking down and his Tao nearly exhausted, and Sagiri unable to stand against Shija, Gabimaru watches their chances of winning gradually slip away. Shija questions why he continues to cling so desperately to life, and he replies that he simply wants to live an ordinary life with his wife. Shija insists that such a future is impossible, as Iwagakure will hunt him endlessly, and his wife was never real to begin with. Gabimaru rejects this claim, recognizing it as psychological manipulation, and instead tries to stall for time to restore his Tao and create an opening for Sagiri. But Shija, just as throughout most of their battle, sees straight through his intentions and urges him to face reality, insisting that his wife and the life he remembers with her are nothing more than illusions. Back at the main body of the Banko, Gantetsu prepares to strike down the massive flower before him, while Jika, uninterested in acting, simply lies down and trusts him to handle it. Taking this calm attitude as a test of courage, Gantetsu sits as well, confusing Jika. When the signals seem to arrive, Jika explains they must still wait. The roots will reveal when the tendons are destroyed and when it's truly time to attack. He says he has always understood the natural flow of things, from how to land the perfect cut to predicting where something will fall. His philosophy is simple: those who wait are rewarded. Though Gantetsu senses hidden motives, he can't figure them out. Elsewhere, Shija insists to Gabimaru that a normal life is impossible under Iwagakure's control. Even the chief's daughter, she claims, was merely a fabricated partner meant to mask his violent deeds. Her personality and affection nothing but manipulation. She urges him to abandon the illusion and return to who he once was. But Sagiri notices Gabimaru rise again, reassured that his wife truly exists. His Tao stabilizes, his body recovers, and he recalls Yui reminding him that life itself is a battle, but preserving small pieces of normalcy matters. Accepting the cost of his dream, he declares he'll pursue a new life with her by his side. Restored and resolute, Gabimaru vows Shija will never stand in his way, echoing words from their childhood. Delighted by his fierce resolve, Shija erupts with manic joy, convinced this outcome is perfect. In a past memory, Yui teaches Gabimaru how to prepare chestnut rice the normal way, something she never experienced growing up in Iwa. When he questions the point, she admits she doesn't fully know either. She just wants to try living normally. They share the meal together, calling it sweet and delicious, even though both of their dulled senses prevent them from truly tasting it. Saying it out loud, she explains, lets them at least pretend to live an ordinary life. Back in the present battle, Gabimaru lands devastating blows on Shija, who realizes he's fighting with the same lethal sharpness he once had. He explains his instincts never faded, the battlefield simply changed. He reflects on how he once failed to understand Yui's simple acts of normalcy, dismissing them as meaningless. Now, Shija recognizes that his love gives him no obvious weakness, and unleashes an all-out assault using everything he once taught her. She targets her vitals, unleashes flames, and even manages to stab his heart. Gabimaru calmly praises her skill, admitting the strike might have killed him if he were still human. But determined to return home no matter what, he grabs her, pulls her close, and ignites Ninpo ascetic blaze at full power, engulfing them both in raging fire. Engulfed in the flames of Gabimaru's fire ninjutsu, Shija reflects on her tragic life. She remembers how many admired Gabimaru, but her feelings were always deeper. Thinking back to their childhood, she wonders if the moment she once fled from him was born from fear or the realization that she might truly die. When she later learned he had married Yui, she tried to imitate her, even burning part of her own face. Yet she had long understood that the pounding in her chest was neither admiration nor fear, it was love, realized too late. Collapsed but smiling, Shija uses her final strength to create a massive whistle from her hair, signaling that Iwagakure Shinobi. It's a cleansing ritual, her final ninjutsu, to clear Gabimaru's path forward. She reveals Yui is alive and waiting for him. With her last breath, she asks if she were reborn, would he face her again? He gently agrees and she dies content. Afterward, Sagiri urges refocusing on destroying the tanden as Yuzuriha signals all teams to strike. Meanwhile, sensing the moment has come, Jika and Gantetsu prepare to attack, only to discover the colossal Banko has begun transforming once again. Preparing to face the transformed monster, Jika calmly strips down to sharpen his spiritual focus and asks Gantetsu for his sword. Though puzzled that Jika lacks a weapon strong enough to cut the Ju Shin fused Banko, Gantetsu notices Ju Shin body sprouting from the vines and trusts his judgment. Relying on his uncanny intuition, Jika advances while sensing every fatal misstep he could make, weaving past countless invisible death points. When wind, space, and timing align, he swings once, cleanly severing the monster's head from afar, echoing his legendary past feats. Gantetsu is stunned, realizing he stands before a true godslayer. He recalls when Fuchi once spared a doshi and begins to understand why fighting monsters for thrills no longer satisfies him. As Jika reaches the tanden, Gantetsu warns him that destroying it may harm Gabimaru and Chobei, whose Tao is linked to the creature. Unmoved, Jika accepts the risk and destroys the tanden anyway. Even after the Jushin Banko is seemingly destroyed, Jika and Gantetsu realize it still lives. Dawn has arrived, just as Mei warned, allowing the monster to regenerate. The only solution is to destroy all tandens simultaneously again. Elsewhere, Chobei sees the wood tanden regenerating but is nearly out of strength. Toma pleads with him to abandon the fight and escape the island together, fearing a pointless death like their fathers. Chobei refuses. Entering his breakdown state one last time, he drives his vines into the wood tanden. Though lacking the proper attribute, he decides to sever the regeneration by skewering the roots directly, then repeats the method across every location. His gamble works. Vines erupt through all tandens, and with one final command to break down, not himself, but the immortal, the Banko withers away. Exhausted, Chobei collapses. In a fading memory, he recalls holding Toma as a baby, fragile yet determined to protect him. With tears, he realizes he fulfilled that promise. In the afterlife, he apologizes to his parents for his sins, but finds peace in being a good brother, before seeing a mysterious hand reach out to him. Back in reality, Toma grieves while clutching a plant ovule. Meanwhile, Yuzuriha and Mei exit the temple, complaining of a foul odor, and encounter a childlike Guifa holding a strange basin-like urn. And with that, the arc comes to an end. What an absolutely epic ride this was. The Horai arc delivers non-stop tension, massive battles, emotional sacrifices, and some of the most powerful character moments in the entire story. What really makes this arc special is how it doesn't just focus on one or two characters. It gives everyone meaningful moments to shine. Every major player gets development, purpose, and a role that truly matters in the final outcome. At the same time, the story stays deeply centered on the protagonist, his growth, his resolve, and the meaning behind his struggle to live a normal life. Everything comes together in a way that feels intense, emotional, and incredibly satisfying. If you want the full picture leading into all of this, make sure to check out my other video where I explain the entire Lord Tenzin arc. That's where many of the foundations for this chaos were built.